Today's the day, baby. We are taking our Turbo 8th Gen Honda Civic and we're gonna see how much sauce this thing can make. It's dyno day, boys, which means we go get to test this car's limits on the rollers, and I'm excited. So if you guys didn't catch last video, it was a full dyno prep video. We boost leak tested this thing, fixed 99% of the boost leaks, checked out our coolant leaks, we put some LED headlights in, we did a whole bunch of stuff. So I'll leave a link on the top of the screen here to that video. The only thing that we did not get done in that video was wire our wideband gauge to the factory ECU, because honestly, I was still doing research. I didn't quite know how to do it. There's something about pin 29 on the ECU, but we'll get to that once we get to the dyno. I'm just gonna bring a whole bunch of wire and we're gonna dig into it once we're on the dyno with Matt and everything's set up. And I'm just gonna run an external wire outside of the car to the interior, to the analog wire on the wideband controller. And then after the dyno session, I'll actually run it through the firewall and make it clean. But we don't got time for that right now. And speaking of time, I'm late as usual. So we're gonna get everything ready so that we are prepared and ready to go on the dyno. First things first, just for driving it there, I'm gonna slap the filter back on the turbo, and then we're probably gonna take it off on the dyno anyways. Then I'm gonna go through and check all of our fluids. Our coolant overflow is completely empty. Must have sucked some of that back in from when we were bleeding it. Oh, it's not empty, but it's definitely low. So we are going to top that up real quick, and we're also gonna bring some coolant and oil with us to the dyno just in case. Because on dyno days, you can never be too prepared. Next thing we're gonna check is the oil. Make sure we got lots of oil in her. We just changed the oil the other day, but it never hurts to double check. And she is right full. That's what we like to see. Also, while I had the bumper off and I was installing those LED lights, I checked the catch can, dumped it out. There's just a little bit of water condensation in it. So that's drained, our coolant's full. Oil's full, brake fluid's good. If I take the rad cap off, she is right full in the rad. Clutch reservoir is good. Everything is good to go. We got no fuel leaks, no boost leaks, no oil leaks, no coolant leaks. We are freaking ready, boys. Under the hood at least, other than that wideband. So let's get the trunk loaded up with tools. We got the good old Milwaukee tool bag. First thing we're gonna do is load up sockets in this thing. I'm gonna bring a full set of 3/8 and 1/4 inch sockets, just in case. Never have too many tools. Then we got our impact, our big impact, and our 3/8 ratchet, which should be tons of electric tools. Then I'm gonna bring this little box of zip ties with me. Bring some wire cutters for cutting zip ties if we need, some extensions, 1/4 inch and 3/8, some pliers. We're gonna bring 2 lights, just in case one dies. I always like to bring a test light just in case we have electrical issues. And a multimeter, again, just in case. Some electrical tape, some wire crimpers. Then I'm gonna bring 10, 11, and 12 mil ratcheting wrenches because I know that's the size of my intercooler couplers. Adjustable AN wrench. Then I'm gonna bring an 8, a 10, a 6, and a 5 mil Allen key socket with a 3/8 ratchet and 1/4 inch ratchet. And then just in case we got issues with spark plugs, spark plug socket, always. Because we can always run to the store and grab new spark plugs. Just in case I drop bolts, magnet, and a mirror, body clip tool, flathead screwdriver, and a Phillips screwdriver, razor blade. And then just in case we need any crimpers or fuses or anything, I'm gonna bring this kit too, but I'm not putting it in our Milwaukee bag because this thing is already packed. Almost forgot my 11 mil socket. Another thing I like to bring, just in case we get low tire pressures or anything, or in case the battery dies for whatever reason, our Auxito booster pack. I freaking love this thing. It is probably one of my favorite tools in the shop. We got our tuning laptop just in case Matt needs it. Then I got a milk crate here, which we're gonna put coolant in. We're gonna put oil in. A bottle of soapy water, just in case we blow off lines and get boost leaks. Some silicone spray, in case we got hoses pop off, just to make it easier. And then our coolant funnel, just in case we spill coolant. And then on top of that, I'm also gonna bring my boost leak tester, because you know, you can never be too careful. And now we can get it all loaded up in our empty trunk that has no parts left in it anymore. We are set. I also don't think it would be right to start this video without a good old cold start for the boys. With the exhaust valve open, of course. Wouldn't be a dyno D either without a trip to the gas station. We gotta get some fresh 93 in her because this thing is getting tuned on pump gas. $1.83 a liter, boys. This freaking carbon tax is getting ridiculous. 72 bucks, just like that. I'm not gonna film anything driving there, but I'll see you guys on the rollers. All right, so we made it on the dyno. We got this thing on the rollers now. Matt's getting her all strapped down. Matt, you wanna say what's up to the boys?
What is up? Opposite direction.
So we got this thing strapped on the rollers. Matt wants me to pull off the wiper cowl because we're gonna check the plugs and everything like that after, and just for heat reasons because the car is stationary. So I'm gonna get the intake pulled off the turbo, get the wiper cowl pulled off, and then we should be good to go. The only other thing that I gotta do is pull this cover off the ECU, which I'm probably gonna do right after we get the wiper cowl off, and then we gotta run a wire to the analog input for our wideband. So we pulled the plugs, took a look at them. Plugs are looking a little rich because we had the base map running pretty rich and I've been driving this thing for the past week or so. We stuck a scope down in the cylinders and took a look at the pistons and everything like that. There's a little bit of signs of some minor detonation on the top of the pistons, some little speckles, but I'm not worried about it. That's because this engine has 200,000 kilometers on it and we were freaking running 87 octane in this thing when I was daily driving it before. So not surprised that there's a little bit of detonation there, but we should be able to clean that up with this tune. So now I got the battery pulled out, we got the ECU pulled out, and now I'm looking at the pinout diagrams on the Hondata support website. And what we're gonna be doing is snipping one of the pins on the back of the ECU here, and we are gonna run our wideband gauge to one of the pins. I haven't decided if we're gonna do the ELD pin, which is your electric load input, which is pin A23. If we're gonna do the ECT2, which is the coolant temperature sensor 2, which is pin A33. We do pin B29 for a wideband input, which is the EGR, the lift input. And you cannot do the secondary O2 sensor, something about it being voltage regulated or something like that, so you can't run the wideband to that input. So from what I understand is the ELD electric load input is strictly for regulating the voltage that the alternator puts out to the battery. And to my understanding, this is strictly for fuel economy purposes, and it'll drop the voltage on the battery to like 12.3 volts, when realistically a battery, when you have the car running, you want it at 14.5 to 14.3 volts at all times when the car's running. You get max battery charging, and honestly, we're not going for fuel economy in this car, we're trying to make the sauce. So in my opinion, I'm just gonna cut the ELD wire, tape off the one end, and then we're gonna run that wire externally outside of the car to my glow shift wideband controller. Funny, because at the start of that clip, I said I didn't know which one I was gonna use, and then I just kind of talked myself through it. We're gonna use pin A23, which is the ELD electric load input wire. And if we scroll down here, pin A23 is on connector A, which if we're looking at the ECU this way, just like the diagram, it's a connector all the way on the left here. And it shows here, connector A is white, connector B is gray, and connector C is green. So if we look at the connectors here, I know it's very dark, but this one's white, this one's gray, and this one's green. So connector A is the white one over here. So first we gotta slide the white plastic off so that we can de-pin that pin. But honestly, I don't think we're gonna need to do that because we're just gonna snip the wire and use it as an input. All right, a couple hours later, I apologize if there's any wind noise on the mic. I got this wind filter on here. Hopefully that's helping. But unfortunately, I'm not gonna know until I start editing this video. So we're gonna have to deal with it. I got the analog input for the wideband all wired up. You just got the black ground and the brown wire is the signal off of my wideband controller. Matt was nice enough, I forgot my freaking harness for the analog input because I didn't think I needed it. Then he told me we needed it, so he let me rip his BMW back to my place. I picked up the harness and we got her all wired in now. If we hop underneath the dash, I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Right here is the wideband controller. I was missing this harness right here that plugs into the controller, and it's got a green wire, a brown wire, and a black wire. So now I ran that wire out, comes up out of the dash right here, over, and then I got a harness running into the car that I just hooked up the brown and black wires, black wire being the ground, brown being my signal positive. That harness is just all tucked behind the seat. I got a whole bunch of extra wire. Then it comes out the window, up into the engine bay, and you can see I got the ground just on the battery ground there. And then this red wire wire goes to the orange wire on connector A, and it was pin A23, I believe, I unhooked. Just cut it, wired my red wire into the connector that goes into the ECU, taped off the rest of the wire, left it in the harness, nice and clean. Eventually, we're gonna run this down through the firewall, but for today, this is what we got. So this thing is pretty much all set now. This was a long freaking road to get here, boys, but we made it. We're in this shit now. There's no going back. We're gonna send it, see how much sauce this thing can make. And we got the computer up front here just to make this a disclaimer before you guys start seeing power numbers and everything like that. This is a Mustang dyno, reads slightly lower than a dyno jet. I don't know what the exact conversion is, but you guys can do that research yourself. We're gonna see how much this budget build K20 8th Gen Civic Si is gonna make. So let's toss you guys on the tripod and get some pulls. I'm so freaking scared. Before the video even ends, drop how much power you guys think it's gonna make in the comments. Let's get it, boys. Number one, baby. Dude, that sounds like that creeps so hard up top.
12 pounds.
12 pounds already? What did you rev to? 8,100?
Certified ripper, yo.
Certified ripper, dude. Holy shit. That was a whopping 18 horsepower and 15 foot-pounds of torque that run. Let's go, baby. It's only up from here. So the calibration's off or something. I don't know what happened. All right, what did we make on that run? That was 264 horsepower and 223 foot-pounds torque. Not bad, we're getting there. That's better than, what did I say last time, like 15 and 18? That's progress. All right, we are having a little bit of wheel slippage issues, I think Matt's saying. So he's throwing some dyno sauce on the tires.
Just WD-40.
Oh, you're literally just spraying WD-40?
Yeah, it works really good, actually. It's
That's what you call dyno sauce?
Well,
WD-40?
I use WD-40, and then cars that have like really bad traction issues, I got like 3M super adhesive.
Oh, I just learned something new today. Dyno sauce is WD-40. It's just working all the WD-40 off the tires. That smells spicy. 19 horsepower and 14 foot-pounds of torque. WD-40 is supposed to make stuff slippery and lubricated, but it makes tires sticky, I guess. Let's turn it up. Let's go see what she made on that one. Kinda nervous. How'd she do? Oh, brother! Almost 350 wheel, 347 wheel, and 235 torque. That's nuts. We're almost at the 350 wheel range, and the Honda is still alive. This is crazy. I'm so scared right now. I'm just waiting for a freaking rod to go through the block or something. Like, this is the scariest part about building a car, by far. What do we got? 359 wheel and 235 torque at 7,900 RPM. She's getting spicy, dude. Matt keeps on asking me how much I want to turn it up because he's like, there's no detonation. We could keep going, but like, when do we stop? Like, This is stock motor. I don't know how hard you can send these things. Matt's telling me he's made like 600 on these things. I don't know what our fuel system will go to. So we're gonna kind of set the limit at 300 foot-pounds of torque, or else we are gonna grenade this transmission, from what I've heard, and snap axles. So 300 foot-pounds is my limit for torque, and if we make 300 foot-pounds of torque, Matt's saying that's gonna put us around 450 to 460 horsepower, which is a spicy unit, dude. That was 359 and 235 wheel. I think we could spice her up more.
I agree. You want to keep it at
8,200 or low? 8,200 red line? Is that what you're at right now? That's what you've been at?
Yep.
What is it boost creeping to up to 8,000?
That's kind of a little inconsistent, but 13 or 14.
13, 14 pounds?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It'll probably go maybe like 15 or 16.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say 8,200 is probably my limit just because it's stock pump. Or stock oil pump, stock motor. I know some guys rev it out to 86, but they put, I don't know what oil pump they put in. The Type S pump?
Yeah, but I want to say this car has something very similar to it. 'Cause this is what, the Z3?
Yeah, K20 Z3. The Z3 has a larger diameter?
Here, BPMC, 99% the same. 9,000 RPM on Z3 oil pump, question mark?
Question mark?
Question mark? Yes, yes, yes.
8,200 at least gives us a safety window, 400 RPM of safety that we're not playing with and pushing the motor super hard. That one didn't seem as spicy. 368 wheel and 235 torque. We're creeping up to that 400 range. I think she's still got more to go. At 8159 RPM. We put a limiter of 8,200 on it. That's where we're gonna leave it. How much boost was that at 368?
It's the same. It dropped like maybe like half a pound.
Like 12 to 13 pounds?
Yeah, because I do better.
Yeah, it was 368.
You checked if your boost controller worked?
No, I just hooked it up.
It hooked up to
Purge valve. When I was actually looking on the Hondata thing, they were saying to hook it up to the ECT2 or one of the other things on the ECU, but I thought with the purge valve you could hook it up.
So you didn't put it on what it's supposed to go on. You put it on something that you thought it would go on.
If we're not using the purge valve connector, that's a duty cycled input to the ECU, so I just figured that would work. Shit, hopefully it is. If not, I got the harness there. I just got a
It's a 3-port or a 4-port?
4-port.
If it's a 4-port, it should have did something right now.
It should have did something like weird.
No, it should have like been more boost that last run.
But it didn't do more boost. So you don't think the boost controller's working?
I'm fairly confident it's not working, but let me just double check here.
Well, I could take it off and wire it to that pin. Yeah, I mean, make 370 wheel with no boost controller. All right, well, wiring it to the purge valve was not the right call. I didn't look at the Hondata diagram, so that's my fault. All right, we are about to be back in business, boys. I figured it out, the easiest way to do this. Right now, I have the boost control solenoid run to this 2-pin connector, which we built in, I can't even remember what episode of this build series, but it's going to the purge control valve connector. So I found the pin on the ECU for that. On the Hondata software, they want you to put the boost control output on B2, so connector B pin 2, which is the EGR output. And if we looked at B2, which is right here, it's the second wire in, right next to that black wire there on the top left side. You can see there's a yellow plug right there. So that yellow plug is for EGR. This car doesn't have EGR, that's why it's plugged off. The wire next to it, connector B right here, pin 3, is PCS, which stands for Purge Control Solenoid. It's a yellow and blue wire. So literally, to make this work, this is super convenient and easy. We just need to depin that yellow wire right next to the plug right there, and we gotta move it over 1 pin. That's gonna move our ground side control from the purge control to the EGR, which is the way that Hondata has it set up. And then we're back in business and our boost controller should work. We can get everything back together and keep making some power. That seriously took me like an hour to figure out. That took a long time. And all I had to do was move 1 wire over to the pin next to it. Electrical is kind of frustrating like that sometimes, but we got it. we're back in business. Everything's wired, boost controller should work. Let's send it. That was spicy. That looks spicy, but we're lower. 318 wheel, 228 torque. Maybe just getting into it or the wheel slipped. Think wheel slipped there a bit? No?
I just let off.
Okay. How we do? 388, 251 torque. We're getting close, boys. God damn. Just proof for numbers here. We are at 8,000 RPM, almost 8,100, 388 wheel and 251 torque. That is nuts. We're close to 400, boys. We're gonna hit it. That's our goal for today. This is gonna be wild. 388, dude, that's close.
I'm not sure if it's working.
The boost controller?
You got power there, 100%?
Let's check. 12 volts. You should have a 12 volt loss across these. Or no, because it's ECU. So it should be working. Why are we having so many boost controller issues, dude?
Right now, the solenoid's completely grounded, so it should show 12 across the tube. Or sorry, it should show like normally if it's like running across and it shows 6, that means 50%, but it's at 0.
But while it's running, it's not gonna be 100% grounded because the ECU's duty cycling it.
It's at 0 right now.
What's at 0?
Duty cycle.
Oh, so it should show a 12 volt. No, because it's not gonna have a good ground because that ground's open. So it's not gonna show you 12 volts. If you duty cycle it 100%, it'll show 12 volts.
It's showing us 6, so it's showing us a little bit of
Yeah, which it shouldn't.
Exactly.
It
But
should
I'll just take it off and I'll just see it once more.
Okay.
Give it a little bit more solenoid and you'll see.
Because it's not polarity sensitive, so it shouldn't matter. Yeah. All right, give her again. Not working still?
I just put it to 50 and it didn't do anything, so.
That makes no sense. It's run, let's just make sure that that pin's right maybe. We checked continuity, we verified that it was doing it.
Well, if you're missing a plug on the top port in the gate, it'll do what it's doing right now.
There's 3 ports on the gate. I plugged 1 and used 2. 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. But yeah, double check. I wonder if my wastegate lines are flipped somehow. There's no way. We're just gonna smoke test it quick and see. So I gotta get this unhooked. Grab a couple more zip ties again. On the CX Racing gate, there's 3 ports. There's 2 on the bottom, 1 on the top. Hooked the top one up to there, hooked 1 up to the bottom, and I blocked off the other one. That's clicking. So we know the solenoids works. We know the lines are good.
Next thing is back to your wiring there.
Back to the wiring, yeah. Maybe the solenoid was stuck and you just, because the first time you touched it, it wasn't clicking.
I can try it now.
I'm wondering if maybe it was stuck and you just jogged it free by putting straight 12 volts to it. I've had that happen before with solenoids. Still nothing? What the fuck? We got 12 volt feed on the one wire, constant, and then the other wire should be going to that pin on the ECU. That's the only thing that it could be, is the wrong pin.
That's the one. The one it's supposed to go into.
That makes no sense. You're already almost at 400 wheel too, without the boost controller working. 0 ohms is perfect connection. Ugh, I hate cars. Why the fuck do we do this? It's supposed to be fun.
I do this every day. Every day is like a new, why is this car doing this and that?
There's no way this works. I mean, I'll be happy if it does, but there's no way that that's the opposite pin. But I'm open to try anything. Still nothing. Still nothing, eh? You're just 100% duty cycling it. Well, you should have done that on the other pin. Still nothing. You go back to pin 3 and then try and 80% it?
Yeah.
Why is this not working?
Maybe it like loses power at that pin or something.
For the purge valve?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know, man. At this point, I'm willing to try anything. Why don't we put a wire, disconnect this, put a wire in here and connect them, like your little pin out set that you had there. Put a pin on that, on this, so that that's connected, and then we'll just run 12 volts to this, like a constant from the battery.
Isn't that like,
You're still gonna be duty cycled, but you have a constant 12 volts from the battery.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we can do that.
That rules out your 12 volt issue. All right, she's plugged in. Everything should work. How do you not feel defeated? I don't know what to do.
If we manually ground it, then and it goes to the moon, then we know that this here is not driving the correct output to it.
And the boost control has to be controlled by that pin, according to Hondata.
According to their documentation, yep. Like I would probably try to ground the other wire.
See if it just goes to the moon.
Well, if it goes really high, then we know it's
The ECU is not triggering it.
yeah. If it doesn't, then that will be okay. Mechanical issue.
But what's the mechanical issue? We just smoke tested it.
Well,
Is it the gate? The boost controller is not able to control the gate, but you said the gate's opening, so I don't know.
like yeah, when I cracked it open with the pressure, it opened. So
All right, we hit screw it at this point. We just ran straight 12 volts and a straight ground to the battery to the boost controller, and we're gonna see if this thing goes straight to the moon. That's moon. That sounded like moon. What the hell? So the ECU is not duty cycling that.
the ECU is not doing what it's supposed to do.
So I have an ECU issue? I've never had to fucking touch that. Makes no sense.
I got a guy that can look at that circuit for you. But yeah, like boost control enabled, right? You can see it. Boost duty, 80% output.
So it's like the ECU is not duty cycling that ground. Is there any other grounds that you can hook up as the boost control? Or it's that only that one?
According to their documentation, that's the only one. That's the thing is like, it's normally unused. So like, what if that like doesn't even have the fucking circuitry?
I think my purge valve connection, everything there is fine. We've already verified all that. It's gotta be an ECU issue. You know what? We could verify our power source too by grounding it straight to the battery. Like ground the duty cycle wire, and then I'll go from my purge valve connector wire straight to the boost controller just to make sure the 12 volts is good. Yeah, just to make sure the 12 volts is good there, but it should be, we tested it, like. No, we just went straight to the battery on both, rather than using the 12 volts from the purge and then moon tuning it on the battery. I don't know if it's even worth it though. The wire kind of moved there, but did it go straight? Oh, it's working. Yeah, so our power is good, our ground is good, so it's an ECU duty.
If you want, like I have a guy that will crack that thing open and if there's a broken part in the circuit, he'll fix it. If it's not there, he can add it in there for you. We verified that the power is good. We verified that.
This continuity is good on the ground to the ECU. The power is good under load. We verified the boost controller is working because it's fucking wide open when we go straight to battery. We've literally verified everything.
I can see if I can like fuck the settings to like make it pulse like at idle and stuff. I could try that.
See if it does something.
Yeah, I can try to put the battery charger on because the battery is super low.
Yeah, we couldn't get her, boys. Got to revisit this another day. As you guys see behind me, the Civic's out of the shop. We got a GTR behind me now. I am gonna end the video here because I wanna show you guys that this is real. This stuff happens sometimes when you're tuning cars. It doesn't always go 100% the way you want it to go. And unfortunately in this situation, what we ran into is pin B2 on the ECU, which is the pin that Hondata wants you to use for the boost controller input. You can't use any other pin, that's the only one. We have it wired to pin B2. We made sure our 12 volt constant's good. We made sure the continuity in the wire from my connector that I made that controls the boost controller all the way to the ECU was good. We even put straight 12 volts and power to the boost controller. Thing frickin' boosted to the moon, which means that the boost controller is working. It was wide open. We verified absolutely everything. The last thing that it could possibly be is that the transistor in the ECU for pin B2 is not duty cycling that output. So Matt says that he's got a guy that can open these ECUs up and he can go through and work his magic, whatever he does to make sure, I don't know if he replaced that transistor or what he does, but he needs to go into the ECU and reactivate that input somehow or the output somehow for pin B2 because we tried literally everything and it's not duty cycling it. So there's nothing we can do. The car made, what did it make in the end, Matt? It was like 386? 386 wheel and like 340 something torque? Or not 340, sorry, like 240. Like 240 torque, 380 something wheel, and that was without the boost controller working whatsoever, the wastegate controlling 100% of the boost. So the graph was kind of up and down all over the place. It wasn't consistent, and I'm not happy with that. I paid $100 and some for that boost controller, and I want it to work the way it's supposed to. So now I'm gonna take the car home. I'm gonna pull the ECU out. We're gonna give the ECU to Matt, and he's gonna give it to his buddy, and they are gonna take care of whatever's happening with that transistor. I hope that if any of you guys watching this video that built your 8-gens don't run into this issue and that your ECUs are working properly, because this definitely sucks. But I wanted to show you guys this to be real and to be honest and to show you guys that shit happens and you just gotta keep moving forward. I sound like freaking TJ Hunt right now. So this was the final graph.
So what happens is like there's some smoothing that happens, you know, for the noisiness of the dyno.
Yeah.
So, you know, as you can see, it's like more, this is with the smoothing off and that's how you get your 388 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, once the, you know, the software does its kind of math and smooths everything out, it ends up being a little bit lower. But
So 364 and 240, something around there.
Correct.
That's what we finished at today.
yeah.
That's okay. We're gonna come back and make some more sauce.
Oh, we're so Canadian, eh? We're just like
Yeah.
drinking Tim Hortons at midnight.
I love how you even finished that sentence by saying A.
I know.
We're so Canadian, eh?
I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah.
Okay, well, that's gonna be it for this one. I will catch you guys when we get this ECU sent out and we can come back on the dyno and make some more sauce. Man, I wish we could have finished this today.